Good morning. Welcome. Today is Saturday, April 4th. How's it going? My name is Angela. I'm a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And today is day 4 of the 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript. It's April 2026. I'm going live every single day in April to help me help myself get better at JavaScript, and I'm taking you along for the ride. This is a vanilla channel, HTML, vanilla CSS, vanilla JavaScripts, no frameworks, no libraries, not because we don't think those things are important, but I also just think vanilla is really important. And I've been saying for years, Angela, you need to get better at JavaScript. So I'm finally, and I have to give myself some credit. I have gotten better at JavaScript, especially over the last couple of years. But for where I'm at in my career as a front-end developer, I think that I should be a little bit better than I currently am. So this is, and what do we always say on this channel? If you want to be good at something, you have to practice. And I believe in my heart of hearts that project-based learning is the best way to learn, and that's exactly what I do here. So I thought, okay, let's do it. Let's make a project. Let's really challenge ourselves with a challenge, so to speak, and let's finally start to get good at this. We need to practice. We need projects. We need tasks. We need to keep moving forward, right? So that's where we are. And welcome. If you're new here, this is a chill place. We're just going to hang out and write some code together. And that's that. Nano Akia is here. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you. Nano Akia was one of my earliest subscribers, and I'm just so glad to have you back. I'm glad that you're here. I appreciate you. So, with that being said, let's just get right into it. I tend to be pretty chatty first thing when a stream starts, and I don't think we need 15 minute soliloquies anymore, especially during the JavaScript challenge. So let's just jump in and start working on today's challenge, which is a modal dialog. And I've actually done this a couple of times. I'm familiar with this API. When I started building 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript.com, I asked ChatGPT for two things. Well, first of all, I asked ChatGPT to help me sort of decide what these projects were going to be for 30 days. I wanted them to be independent, so I didn't want them to rely on any other project. I also asked ChatGPT for some kitchen sink HTML so I could style some UI elements just to get us started and not have these be like all CSS streams. There will be some CSS, but not all CSS, right? So I got a lot of things styled, and then I got up here to day 6, which will be in a couple of days on Monday, the toast notification system. And that's where I was like, I should stop with the HTML and the CSS, because so much of how I decide to write my HTML is based on my idea for how I want the JavaScript to work. I mean, they are so closely intertwined. I am also in the camp of front-end developers, and different people do things differently, so I'm not here to criticize another person's approach or method. My approach is to let CSS do as much of the work as possible. And in order to do that, you really have to work out all of the HTML and all of the CSS first, and then the JavaScript is really the layer. It's like the cherry on top of the sundae, right? It's the thing that sort of polishes the entire element, does whatever CSS or HTML can't do. And I know that there are developers who take a very I'm going to use this term, and it's not, but I don't exactly mean it the way it's going to sound. I do think some developers take a heavy-handed approach with JavaScript, and that could just be because they don't know that CSS could do a lot of the work, or they would just prefer to do all of that with JavaScript, and I don't think that's wrong. I just have a different way of doing it. So this is my very long-winded way of saying that the HTML and the CSS are as important as the JavaScript. I tried to get UI elements built and styled ahead of time. I stopped, like I said, so there is going to be a fair amount of that, but I think it's the perfect complement to the JavaScript. So if you're into that type of thing, if you're into a new approach, it's not a new approach, Angela. If you're into just seeing what my approach is, you're in the right place. So here we are. Dante is here. We are back. Hello. Happy to have you. Happy to have you. I have a great chat. I love the people who come and hang out in my chat. So you guys are great. Okay, let's just get started. Let's get started. Hold please 1 moment. All right. So okay, so let's just read through here what the challenge is. Open and close a modal dialog using buttons and overlay click. The focus is, let's make this a little bigger, selecting the dialog and trigger buttons, opening the dialog with the native method, closing the dialog with the native method, handling click events for open and close controls, handling cancel or close behavior cleanly, optional body class toggle for page level styling. Nice extras. Return focus to the trigger that opened it. Okay. Support multiple trigger buttons for the same dialog. Okay, I have to think about that. Support multiple trigger buttons for the same dialog. So multiple ways to open it. Okay. Close on backdrop click. Add a simple open or close animation class. Simple open or close animation class. So like a smooth open and close. Okay. Prevent page scroll while open with the body class. We actually already kind of figured that out. Some of these things we already figured out just in the styling, not even with the JavaScript. Include a confirm button and read the dialog's return value. Okay. So I am using the HTML dialog element, which we've used before and has so many amazing things built into the API. We're definitely going to use show modal. So you can do the show method or the show modal method. There's specific reasons why you would choose one over the other. We are going to do show modal. Show modal. Close. Let's just open all of these up. The open property. The open property. Okay. Close event, add event listener, close. I'm learning new event listeners after, years of being kind of a click or a DOM content loaded. I'm learning actual new event listeners, so that's good. This example demonstrates how to listen for close events triggered by several different methods for closing a dialog. Okay. And we've done this before too, so I'm not afraid to go look at previous JavaScript from other things that we've used this for. Cancel event. The cancel event fires on a dialog element when the user triggers a close request. So what's the difference between cancel and close? Well, I might need to Google that. Return value. The return value property of the HTML dialog element interface is a string representing the return value for a dialog element when it's closed. You can set the value directly. Dialog return value equals result. So value, a string representing the return value. Okay. Dialog, paragraph. Do you agree to the terms of service? Link. Oh, decline. Okay, got it. Decline, value declined. Button ID, value accepted. Return value, got it. Okay. Add event listener, we know that one. Class list, we know that one. Focus. The HTML element focus method sets focus on the specified element if it can be focused. Oh, that's handy. The focused element is the element that will receive keyboard and similar events by default. By default, the browser will scroll to the element into view after. Oh, that would be extremely handy. The focus method. Okay, I like that. And then we do have a trigger here. And then let's look at our HTML. So here's the dialog, modal. So I just did dialog with the class of modal, a div inside, a header. There's a couple of buttons here, cancel and confirm. So we might have to add additional buttons. We can add values. And then we did a lot of styling also. Let's see here. Oh, Dante's asking, where do you go when you say hold please? It's been consistently 3 times now at around the same time. Yeah, it's like allergies, honestly, is what it is. I have a runny nose and I have allergies. And when I first started streaming, honestly, as soon as I start talking, my nose starts to run. So if I'm talking or eating, my nose starts to run. So and it's just allergies, and I'm constantly blowing my nose, and now it's spring and I have the windows open. So I'm just dealing with allergies and sinus stuff. I take myself off camera and I mute myself because when I first started streaming, I would just grab a Kleenex and blow my nose. And then I saw myself doing that in the replays and I was like, gross. Nobody wants to see that. So I just thought, I'm just going to politely excuse myself and go blow my nose. So I think that that's better than you seeing me do that, in my opinion. I feel like it's a little more discreet. So the alternative is that you see me with a runny nose, and I don't like how that looks or feels. So that's a hard pass for me. So, discretion, right? Yeah. And I honestly should just go to Target or Walmart and get myself some, I don't know, some allergy. I should go get something, but I don't know. And then sometimes I'm just like, screw it. I'm tired. I don't want to, I'll just blow my nose. It's fine. So there. Anyways, you will hold, please. Thank you. Okay. So when I was styling, I obviously couldn't. So in order for this to act as a modal according to the spec, you do have to use the show modal property, right? And then you get sort of the things that are built into the API. So we didn't have that. We didn't do that. So I think that we were just manually putting in the open attribute to open the modal. Let's see if that works. Yep. So we put in the open attribute to open the modal. Now the modal comes with a pseudo element called backdrop. But again, you have to trigger that with the show modal method. So what I did is, just for styling purposes, I put a pseudo element on the section just for styling. And you can see here that I styled the backdrop pseudo element, because once we use the show modal method, the backdrop pseudo element is what will actually appear in the DOM. So for now, this was just a way to style it. So now we have this black background. The other thing that I did is, and this was in our instructions. I'm going to take this out. Oh, and I have to take this out too. Hang on. So I'll take that out. I also wanted to prevent the body from scrolling, so I did this. Body has dialog open attribute overflow hidden. So when the modal has the open attribute, which is what will happen once we put in that method, now I can't scroll. So I'm trying to scroll here and it won't let me scroll. So, well, I guess technically I can scroll this. That's interesting. Maybe would have to, probably because this is overflow scroll. So how much you want to bet I'm going to have to stop that from scrolling as well. Yeah. So let's find, hang on, let's do that now. Let's make sure that, let's do that. Navigation. Overflow Y scroll. So I think we can just do this. Now I'll go back to, I'll put it in its correct place. So I'm going to do, so it would be navigation, and then I think that would work, wouldn't it? Will it find it? With that, navigation. Oh wait, it's if the, no, but it's not, it doesn't go in the opposite direction. Unless we did navigation has dialog with an attribute of open. Would that actually work? Overflow Y hidden. So if the navigation has anywhere else down the line, I forget the name of this operator right here. But this basically means it's not a sibling, it's not a direct descendant like a child or a grandchild. It's just anywhere down the line, right? But I don't remember if that includes things that might be nested. Well, let's just check and see. No, that, of course, it doesn't work. Hang on. So maybe if this is open, body has dialog open. Body has dialog open, and then navigation. Yep, that worked. Nice. So now we have the main body does not scroll, and this does not scroll. Nice. So then we can come back here and take out open. The subsequent sibling combinator. No wonder I didn't remember the exact terminology, but that makes sense. The subsequent sibling combinator. So it's not going to work on things that are siblings and then nested, right? It has to be somewhere in that hierarchy, sibling hierarchy. So it's very handy. It's a very, very handy operator. So, okay. So we have that part figured out. We have this right here, prevent page scroll while open with the body class. And then close on backdrop click. So we just need to jump in and do the JavaScript. We just need to do the obvious thing of actually getting this to open and close, and then we can go from there. So let's go to our modal dialog. The who, what now? The subsequent sibling combinator. Yeah, we'll look at the documentation afterwards. It's a very, very handy operator. It comes in very handy from time to time. I've used it many times. So, okay, so this is going to be function modal, function init modal dialog. And I'm going to, so we're probably going to have to put a div around all of that, because if I'm going to be able to correctly scope this, maybe we can just put an extra class here. So we've got so maybe we could do modal dialog, modal inner, modal header. Yeah, let's do that. Modal dialog. So we're just going to make this the root right here. Modal dialog equals, no, Angela, you just said the word root. Stop, Angela. Okay, and then we do our guard statement. If no root. ChatGPT told me that's what it was called. So, okay, so now everything is going to be scoped to the parent container. So we'll do our button type button with the class data open modal. Okay, so we'll do const open, we'll just call it open modal equals query selector. Can I just do this? Data open modal equals demo modal. This doesn't seem right. Is that right? Is that the right way to do that? I think it is. Do I have to say button? That's how I would, this is how I would do it if it was CSS. So I guess I'm going to do it that way. Okay. Const, I guess, dialog. Root, query selector. Is it better to do it by class or by element? Maybe I should change this. Yeah. So I think all I do is modal show modal, right? Oh no, we have to do it on this. Oh my gosh, Angela. Where's the show? Just show me. Show me the show. Okay. Oh, of course, you need an event listener. Okay. Just give me a second here. Open Modal, add event listener, click. Let's just start with the basics, shall we? Oh, hang on. Second time in a row I've done that. And do I have this linked correctly? And this should be type equals, yeah, I don't have this linked correctly. Modal, or excuse me, module. Components, modal dialog. We did it. Well, almost. We almost did it. But we pretty much we're headed in the right direction here. So, okay, cool. So let's see what's happening in, well, so first of all, we can't scroll. So that's working. This is the first time I'm seeing the actual backdrop pseudo element. Yeah, right here. So here's our backdrop. And of course I did style this. So these are my styles right here. Dialog, open, backdrop. And then this is the user agent style sheet. So backdrop is already getting a position fixed with an inset 0. Perfect. I thought you could automatically click on the backdrop like it was part of the I thought it was part of the API that you could click on the backdrop and it would automatically get dismissed. But maybe not. That's okay. So now we need to cancel or confirm. And this is what ChatGPT gave me. So let's see if we have to add more stuff. So okay, so we need buttons for cancel and confirm, but I think these also need values. So what is this? This is show. Okay, I think we're good with that. This is focus. We don't need class lists. I know how to do that. I know how to do that. Return value. We're going to need that eventually. Here's, okay, so here's cancel and here's close. Here's the open property. So this adds open. Let's just double check that. Right here. So this is automatically adding the open. Well, I would call this an attribute, but it is a I guess technically a property. Function, open check dialog. Okay, so you're checking. So the following example shows a simple button that, when clicked, opens a dialog containing a form via the show modal method. From there, you can click the cancel button to close the dialog or submit the form. Okay, The code logs the value of open when the dialog state changes. Okay, so we're good on open. We need to close. We don't need this. And I don't think we need this. So we need to close. There's the close event. I'm trying to figure out what it wants me to do next. The close event, the cancel event. The close event, maybe I can read it here. Okay. So the open property, there's the close event and the cancel event. And then the return value. So it wants us to get the value. Okay, so I think we have to put the values in here. So we'll say value equals cancel. And then we'll say value equals confirm. But then we also need a close button, which we don't have here. Cancel, confirm. Let's put, does the close button need to be inside the dialog? I don't know. Hello, welcome. Oh, hang on. Thanks for hanging out. And I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name, but hello from Paris. That's exciting. Welcome, we're happy you could hang out with us. We're just working on a modal dialog. Okay. Let me go back up here and read. My screen is overflow hidden, so I can't read. Okay. Open and close a modal dialog using buttons and overlay click. Selecting the dialog and trigger buttons, opening the dialog with the native method, closing the dialog with the native method, handling click events for open and close controls, handling cancel/close behavior cleanly. Okay, so I think this is like either or, not both. That's why I'm getting confused. Because I'm sitting here thinking, what's the difference between cancel and close? They're one and the same. Optional body class toggle for page level styling. So we just need to cancel or confirm. We don't need any extra buttons, but I think we need to grab the value of these. So I can handle that. So let's do that next. So we have 2 more buttons. And I'm just going to target these by their, I guess, by their value attributes. Is that a good way to do that? That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so const cancel modal equals root query selector. This is a button with a value. The value that equals cancel. I think this wants us to be different. Now we'll do const confirm modal equals root query selector button with a value equal to confirm. I mean, as long as the values never change, that'll hold up. I think if I was building an app, I wouldn't rely on a value because it would be so easy for like your data analytics team to come back or your CRM team to come back and be like, actually, we changed the value of that. So if your button is relying on that value, that might not be a good method, but I'm going to do it for now. Okay, so now we want to do another event listener to close or confirm, but we also need to get the value. We also need to get the return value. Let's just start with cancel. Let's just start with cancel, shall we? Cancel, modal, add event listener, click. Modal, close, right? Cannot read properties of cancel, modal. Hang on, what did I do wrong? Oh. Don't you like? Did I get something wrong? Okay, so I think that, wait a second, I did something wrong here. Dialog element close. Close button. Yeah, it's just dialog close. I don't, cannot read properties of null reading add event listener. Did I not get the correct value here? Wait, value equals, oh, hang on. Yeah. No, that's right. Brackets equals, I'm inside this, right? Yeah. So I don't think this is a scoping issue. Unless I can't, maybe this just doesn't work as a way to, is it better to do this? Give it just a, maybe this just isn't a good way to target this. Cancel, confirm button. Button. Let's see if it likes this better. No, it doesn't like this. Did I spell something wrong? Cannot read properties of null reading, add event listener. Oh, for God's sakes. I have no idea what I did wrong here. I'm going to do what I did in the good old days when I had no idea how to deal with these things. I'm literally going to copy and paste the error into Google and see what happens. This error means your JavaScript is trying to attach an event like a click to an element that doesn't exist in the DOM at the time the script runs. Because the browser can't find the element, it returns null, and you cannot call add event listener on null. Okay, so probably we just need to say something like if. Okay, see? Look at good old-fashioned Googling. If cancel modal okay. Oh, and this is not, did I not oh my God, I did not save my HTML. Angela. For the love of the traveling Mary. Okay. This is how you learn, people. This is how you do it, right here. Right here. Okay. This is how we do it. Okay. So probably I didn't need this. Although, are those the worst thing? It's not the worst thing in the world probably to have that, right? Should I just do that for all of them? Okay. Why not? Okay. So we can open. We can cancel. Now we need to confirm. But I think for both we have to get the return value. What am I supposed to do with the return value? Just console log it and make it available. And then if you were using this to like include in your API or whatever, as maybe you need it, maybe you need the response as a value. So you're sending that up to like Google Tag Manager or something like that, right? So we have the close event and the cancel event. So we've covered the first four things. We're using the dialog element. We did show modal. We know how to close it. We understand the open property. Now we need close event and cancel event. So these are actual event listeners, and they work with the return value. Okay, so now, and return value is a property, not a method, not an event listener. It's a property. Let's start with cancel. So do we want to cancel or do we want to close? What's the difference? The close event is fired on an HTML dialog element object when the dialog it represents has been closed. This event is not cancelable and does not bubble. The cancel event fires on a dialog element when the user triggers a close request. The cancel event handler can be used to override the default behavior on receiving a close request and prevent the dialog from closing. If the default behavior is not prevented, the dialog will close and fire a close event. Examples. The following okay, here's what I want to know. Cancel event versus close event. Just explain the difference to me, please. Okay, this is what I want to see. So in JavaScript, the choice between cancel and close depends on whether you are trying to stop an action before it happens or respond to it after it has occurred. Timing happens before the action is finalized. So cancel, timing, happens before the action is finalized. Close happens after the action is complete. Purpose, to intercept a request and potentially stop it. So the cancel event, the purpose is to intercept a request and potentially stop it. The close event is to perform cleanup or log the final state. Preventable, cancel event, yes, via event prevent default. Usually, close event, preventable, usually know the action has already finished. The cancel event acts as a pre-check. It is triggered when a user requests to stop or dismiss something, like pressing escape on a modal. Okay. Usage. Use this if you want to ask, are you sure? Or keep a window open under certain conditions. Common targets, dialog elements, input type file, and the close watcher API. Example. Dialog add event listener, cancel. Okay. This is a good example. Dialog add event listener, cancel. Event, if has unsaved changes, event prevent default. This stops the dialog from closing. So that's the cancel. The close event. The close event is a notification that the element or connection is now officially shut. Usage. Use this for final cleanup, like stopping a video, clearing timers, or updating the UI state. Common targets, dialog elements, WebSockets, and the notifications API. Example, socket, add event listener, close, console log, connection lost reason, and then the event reason. Canceling an event method. Confusingly, canceling also refers to the event prevent default method used on any cancelable event like click or submit. This isn't a specific cancel event type, but rather the act of stopping a browser's default behavior. The browser follows this sequence. User hits escape, cancel event fires. If prevent default is not called, close event fires and the dialog disappears. Okay. So this is a good explanation of the difference between what these two things are. What I'm not sure about is this just says handling cancel or close behavior cleanly. That it feels like you choose one or the other based on a scenario that you have in mind or the data that you're gathering from the user. So I feel like I need more information, but also, am I overthinking this? Should I just go ahead and write the event listeners to handle these things and then the implementation is done later? Maybe, yeah, I'm overthinking. Maybe I just do an event for each and get the return value on each. So they both exist. And then if there's a later date where I'm like, I need to get A, X, Y, and Z as somebody's closing the dialogue, they exist and I can choose what I need then. Am I thinking about that correctly? So I guess we'll do both, but they only gave me, oh, gosh darn it, they only gave me one button. Cancel. Okay, so they gave me a button that says cancel. So I'm just going to do cancel. We're just going to do the cancel event and get the return value. So we have the button. So do you click and cancel? Or do you just click on it and that? Okay, so I'm going to go with cancel. So here's a dialog, button type, button ID, request close, request close. Okay, so there's a request close button, which is a button. So you would request close button, click. Wait a second. Oh, I didn't scroll. Okay. So you would click the close button. Where does this come from? Dialog request close. Where does this method come from? Okay. And then you would say dialog cancel event prevent default. So you're stopping it from fully being canceled. And then they have to say yes. Dialog event add event listener close log dialog close event fired. Fired when request close is called. Prevent the dialog from closing by calling event prevent default, and then you log this information. So I'm guessing you get that's where the return value comes in. The open button, click event fired, dialog show modal called, request close, dialog request close called, dialog cancel event fired, dialog close event fired. Should there be like a are you sure button? I feel like, so should there be like a, oh, are you sure? Or you haven't saved your stuff yet? Or am I just supposed to do this log thing? I feel like I don't have enough information. I feel like you haven't done enough, I haven't done enough requirements gathering to complete this task. I have questions. And what is this request close method? Where does that come from? Baseline 2025, newly available. Since May 2025, this feature works across the latest devices and browser versions. This feature might not work in older devices or browsers. The request close method of the HTML dialog element interface requests to close the dialog. An optional string may be passed as an argument, updating the return value of the dialog. This method differs from close in that it fires a cancel event before firing the close event. Authors can call event prevent default in the handler for the cancel event to prevent the dialog from closing. This method exposes the same behavior as the dialog's internal close watcher. Okay, so I have to ask ChatGPT to give me a little bit of context here about what information am I gathering here from the user. I feel like I don't have enough information. I don't know how else to put this. Okay. I'm gonna zoom out a tiny bit here. And take a screenshot. ChatGPT is well aware of our little project, so I'm just going to ask it for some context. I need more context to complete this task. I read about the difference between cancel and close, but I'm not sure what information I'm supposed to gather from the user. Why would I just cancel, then close without doing something in between those actions? I just need clearer requirements. This is all I have from you. From a different chat. Okay. Yes, this is what it's like to work with me. For better or worse. Yeah, the requirement is underspecified. If you are given tasks like this, please don't be afraid to go back to whoever the product owner is, or I don't know, your leadership team, your boss, whomever, and just be like, what am I doing here? What is the point of this? What information are we gathering? Okay, what cancel and close actually mean for a native dialog cancel? This happens when the user tries to dismiss a dialog with the browser's built-in dismiss behavior, usually escape. Okay, I kind of mentioned that. Important part, cancel fires before the dialog closes. It is cancelable. You can call event prevent default to stop the dialog from closing. So cancel is for intercepting escape, deciding whether the user should be allowed to close, maybe warning about unsaved work. Yeah, what did I say here? I feel like we're missing a step in between. Close. This happens after the dialog has closed. Important part. Close is not cancelable. It is for cleanup and follow-up work. So close is for restoring focus, removing body classes, reading dialog return value, resetting state, logging what happened. Why would you do both? Why would you use both? Because they do different jobs. A common pattern is the user presses escape and cancel fires. In cancel, you decide allow close to continue or block it with prevent default. If close is allowed, the dialog closes. Then close fires. So now you do cleanup. It is not usually cancel, then close, then do nothing. So that makes sense. It is intercept the attempted dismissal in cancel, then react to the final close state in close. In plain English, think of it like this. Cancel equals the user is trying to back out. Close, the dialog is now closed. So I immediately think of somebody filling out a form and then changing their mind and trying to just cancel. So you might say like, are you sure? Or you didn't fill out your form. Something like that, right? That distinction matters. What requirements would make cancel useful? What requirements would make cancel useful? You only really need cancel if you have behavior like this. Use cancel when escape should not always close the modal. You want to confirm before closing. This makes the most sense to me. The user may lose unsaved input. This also makes sense to me. You want special logic only for escape dismissals. Can't think of what that would be, but I believe you. Example, user typed in a form, they hit escape. You intercept cancel, show a discard changes warning. Only allow close if they confirm. Without that kind of requirement, cancel may be unnecessary. So cancel would not be in every situation, which makes sense why this says cancel or close behavior cleanly. This sort of implies that these could be one and the same, which is why that was so confusing to me. It's like, are you telling me to pick one, or are you telling me which one to do? I don't know. So without that kind of requirement, cancel may be unnecessary. What requirements would make close useful? Almost always. Use close when you want to restore focus to the opener, and they have a focus method here for us to use that they want us to use in the nice to haves, right? Remove modal open from the body. There is modal open on the body. Okay, so I didn't put modal open on the body, but that's not a bad idea. Maybe that's why they had class list. Is that why they had class list right here in the list? Okay, we can do that too. Okay. Inspect return value, clear temporary classes, run any final cleanup no matter how it was closed. So we would use close, the close event to class list remove from the, okay, that makes sense. So what are the real requirements here? For what you pasted, I'd interpret the likely task as this: minimum likely requirement. Build a modal dialog that opens with a trigger button, closes with a close button, closes on overlay click, so that would be our backdrop pseudo element, closes on escape. We can do that because we do that with our navigation, our mobile navigation all the time. Returns focus to the opener, so that opener button, and then optionally toggles a body class while open. So class list toggle, got it. Nice to have. Handle the cancel cleanly for escape. Handle the close for cleanup. Maybe use return value if there is a confirm action. So the close button is using a close method, but this is talking about a close event. The missing question is this, not what information am I supposed to gather from the user, but do I need to distinguish between an attempted dismissal and a completed close? That is the whole point of cancel versus close. If the answer is no, then you probably do not need much cancel logic at all. Ugh. If the answer is yes, then cancel becomes useful. Practical rule for your challenge. You probably only need show modal, close, overlay click handling, focus return, maybe a close listener for cleanup. And then you can mention cancel as Fires on escape before close. Useful if you want to prevent dismissal. The simplest mental model. If I were rewriting the requirement more cleanly, I'd phrase it like this. Build a native modal dialog using Dialog. Open it with the button using show modal. Close it with a close button, overlay click, and escape. Return focus to the button that opened it. Use the close event for cleanup. That's where we're going to get our return value. Explore the cancel event to understand how escape can be intercepted by the dialog before the dialog closes. That version is much clearer than the handle cancel close behavior cleanly. You are right to want. Okay, so let's do everything up until here, which I'm still a little confused by. So, okay. And Go Elmo is here. Had a family emergency. I'm sorry to hear that. My streak is not broken. For the record, Malik, it's okay if the streak is broken for a family emergency. Obviously. I know you know that. Sorry to hear that. I'm obviously happy that you are here, and I hope that everything is okay. Okay. Okay, let's keep going. Cancel, confirm. What's the so the confirm would be, so then what's the confirm for? The confirm would be, I feel like confirm is close and then cancel is cancel. And Malik says, it wasn't too serious, got it handled. Have to show my support and learn alongside you. Nano Akia says, so if the modal had a finish payment and they clicked escape, you would want to intercept that, right? Yeah, I think so. Finish payment or finishing filling out a form or something. Let's treat the confirm as a close and the cancel as a cancel, because I feel like confirm means that you're confirming and then you're closing things out and doing that cleanup, right? So that's how I'm gonna treat this. So I'm gonna say confirm, and I'm gonna treat that like, because I think cancel does mean something specific, and we're gonna do that last. So confirm is the thing that cleans everything up. Let's also go ahead and add, let's toggle that body class, right? So we would want to do const body equals document dot body, and well, we're gonna it'll be a toggle, but it's gonna be add and remove. So body class list add, modal open, whoops. And then we're going to want to take that off when we close it, so we'll remove. That will definitely help with styling, although I feel like we did already kind of handle that. All right. So we'll adjust our CSS to deal with that body class. And then we want to make sure that we're handling the escape key. We've done that before. So why did I think though that the backdrop handled that automatically? Clearly it doesn't. Although the backdrop is not the same thing as the escape key. So we want to do Well, we want to target the, hang on, I have to think about this for a second. I'm going to cheat and look at my GitHub because I don't remember. This is a good one. They've all been good ones. They've all been good ones. I love it. Okay, so we're just going to do, this is just, yeah. So this is on the document. Add event listener. Add event listener. And this is the key down. And we have to grab that event. Whoops. And I'm actually going to check and make sure first that we don't have that body class. So I'm just going to say if the body class list contains what do we say, modal open. We'll just do this. And then we're going to do if the key equals escape, name that movie. We're going to say body class list remove. I guess we could just do this. So we're going to remove the, we're going to remove this, but then we're also going to do this, right? If the body does not contain modal open, return. Yeah, I think that's right. So now we should be able to hit return. Yes. Try it again. And I don't think we need to use the focus because we are automatically returning the focused. I wonder why. Could it be because somebody understands good best practices around HTML? Look at that. The focus is already going to the correct place. So, excellent. Thank you. Do I need to use a focus method if the focus is naturally returning to the correct place when I open or close? What's the best practice? No, if focus is already behaving correctly, don't force it. That's actually the right instinct. I mean, I really feel like with good, obviously focus is incredibly helpful, even though I don't use it very often. I think it's because I don't need to. I think it's because I'm somewhat thoughtful when it comes to my HTML, organizing my HTML to make sure focus is going to the correct place. Like I want to say I get pretty lucky with it, but I think honestly I'm like decently good at organizing my HTML to make sure that that's happening organically. What the browser does for you. With native dialog and show modal, focus is automatically moved into the dialog. Focus is trapped inside. When it closes, focus often returns to the previously focused element. So in simple cases, you'll see open, focus goes inside. Close, focus goes back to the trigger. No extra code needed. When you should not add focus, don't add it just to be safe. If your trigger button regains focus naturally, you're not dynamically removing or replacing DOM elements, which I rarely do because I think most of the time you don't need to, but I also acknowledge that I'm not building the most complex layouts, but I think also most people aren't building the most complex layouts. You're not doing anything unusual with timing or animations. I'm not. Adding unnecessary focus code can actually create flicker override correct browser behavior, make things harder to reason about later. Yeah, when you should control focus, you step in when the default behavior breaks or isn't enough. Multiple triggers. If different buttons open the same dialog, they don't. Okay, but that's a good example. Now you're restoring focus intentionally if there are multiple triggers. No focusable content inside the dialog. If your dialog has no naturally focusable elements, you should add a tab index -1. Then dialog show modal dialog focus. That makes sense. Maybe your dialog is just informational, right? And your button, for whatever reason, would be outside. I don't know why you would do that and have the button outside the dialog, but custom close behavior, animations, delays. If you delay closing or manipulate the DOM, the browser might lose track of focus. That's when you explicitly restore it. Accessibility polish. Sometimes you want focus on a specific element inside, like first input. I think that's very common with search, right? That you open a search container and you want to make sure that input has focus so people can just start typing. Not just whatever the browser picks. Practical rule, keep this simple. If it works, leave it alone. If it breaks, fix it intentionally. If you have multiple triggers, track and restore. For your current challenge, based on what you're building, you likely do not need focus. One honest note, a lot of tutorials over-engineer focus handling because older model patterns require it. Dialog changed the game. You're working with a modern tool. Okay, so listen, I am an overthinker. I am not an over-engineerer. I think that's safe to say that. So overthinking, yes. Over-engineering, no. Well, focus isn't exactly trapped. I mean, the dialogue gets focus, but focus trapping to me means that it wouldn't leave, and it did leave. So I don't think that's quite right. Okay, so our escape is working. Now we need to make sure that when we click on the backdrop, we can also close and do these things, right? Can we combine that here somehow? No, probably not, because the key down is a very specific event. Okay, so how do we target the backdrop? You can't target a pseudo element, so how do you click on a backdrop? I feel like we have done this before too. How do you click on a backdrop? You can't. I already know that you cannot target a pseudo element, which means that if it's open, I think you just have to click on the body, right? Isn't it just a click document, add event listener, click on the body? If it's open. So would we do document, add event listener, click, and then we would check this again, right? But does this mean that if you're clicking inside the dialog, that's also going to close it? This feels like it might be too broad. Like it might be too... Yeah. That's not quite right. Well, but it doesn't... If the body does not contain modal open, return. So we need to be able to, how do I target the, hang on. I can do this. What am I clicking on to open that? Don't tell me. I'll figure it out. The window? Am I clicking on the window? No. See, you can't target the backdrop. I know that you can't target the backdrop. That's the section. We want to click anywhere outside, right? Is it this right here? Dialog open? This is me. I wrote this. So are we targeting the dialog with the open attribute? But this is all margin, which is outside the box model. This would be the thing that you would be clicking on right in here, right? Or are we clicking, is it the window? Is it the window? I don't think that that's going to work either, though. Okay, I think I'm just going to Google it. I'm going to Google it. So, click outside dialog to close. When a dialog is using the closed by attribute, I don't want experimental. My dialog, add event listener, click. If the user clicks the dialog element directly, the backdrop, close it. If the event target is my dialog. Okay, so the backdrop is part of my dialog. So I'm just curious if this includes the element itself or if this is just the backdrop, but okay. So we want to do the modal. So we're just targeting the modal. Do we have to, I still kind of want to do this though, right? If the target equals the modal, I mean, we're not checking anything here really to close, so maybe this doesn't matter. Okay, so that's cool. That means that I can still type inside and it's just on the backdrop. So I'm clicking here inside, nothing. So it's just the backdrop. Got it. Love it. So I don't think we need this right here. So let's we'll say open the modal. Confirm and close the modal. Hit escape to close the modal. Click the backdrop to close the modal. So we're not going to worry about focus. We've taken care of class list. Okay, so cancel with return value. Also, let's also update our HTML to reflect the body class that we put on. So instead of using this, I mean, really, we can just do this. Modal open. It is a little more stable, probably. Oop. Yep, can't scroll, so we're still overflow hidden. Okay, I like it. So I feel like the last thing we need to tackle is the cancel and I guess the return value, right? And then we got it figured out. I'll be honest, I'm still a little fuzzy on the cancel. Okay, explore the cancel event to understand how escape can be intercepted before the dialog closes. That version is much clearer than the handle, cancel, close behavior cleanly. So we would want to use the cancel to deal with this. I'm going to move this out of the way then. Put this down here. Put this right here. And Hari J is here. Hello from India. Welcome. Glad you could join us. Nano Kia, hope the rest of the stream goes well. Need some sleep. Have a good day. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Yes, get your beauty sleep. Come back, hang out with us. We're not going anywhere. Maybe this is a good time to ask people to go ahead and like the stream. Subscribe if you're not already. I would appreciate it so much. Helps the channel grow. Yeah. Helps the algorithm, helps push this type of content out to more people who might be interested, and all that good stuff. And if you're curious what I'm doing, This is the 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. So I'm going live every day in April to work on my JavaScript skills. I'm having a blast so far. Today's the day number 4. The website is 30. Let me put the site in the chat here. It's called 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript. So as soon as we finish here this particular task, we are going to deploy this to 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. Yeah, so that's what we do. That's what we're going to do here every day. Complete a task, get it deployed, put it out on the web, see if other people could maybe possibly find this helpful. I was thinking yesterday, I was doing a few things on the site last night, and I was like, this is going to be such a cool little library, such a cool little resource library of tasks and things that I learn how to do or I get better at doing. So I'm super excited about this month and getting through all these tasks. And even on simple things, like I am learning so much. So I don't know. I'm enjoying myself a lot here. So okay, so I'm just going to ask for more help here to understand what it is that I'm supposed to do, because I feel like we've selected the dialog and trigger buttons. We've opened the dialog with the native method, closed the dialog with the native method, handling click events for open and close, optional body class toggle for page level styling, return focus to the trigger. We did that organically. Support multiple trigger buttons for the same dialog. I mean, we have multiple triggers to open and close. Close on backdrop click. Add a simple open close animation class. Do we need that? What does it do organically? Oh, let's do that. I think that's pretty easy. Okay, so this was just for styling. I'm going to take this out. I don't even know if we need this because I think that's part of the user agent style sheet. Yep, that's part of the user agent style sheet. I'm going to take this out. So I think to animate this, can we, yeah, we can animate a pseudo element, right? What are we animating? The background color? Transition. I'm not sure if this is the right way to do this or not. You can obviously animate a background color. So let's see if we can animate from this to open. Oh, that definitely didn't work. So we probably have to do visibility. Do we have to animate with visibility? Well, what does the user agent style sheet say here? Well, the backdrop doesn't exist until it's clicked. The backdrop doesn't exist until it's clicked. Oh, right here. Dialog, internal dialog in top layer. Visible. Visible as in if it's visible, then it's accessible by a screen reader. So would I... We've also got display block, visibility, I don't know if this is the right way to do this. So rather than dealing with, I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to change the visibility to hidden because you can absolutely transition that. But what's the trigger is, what's the thing, open? I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's going to work. Visibility. Does that seem like, let's slow this transition down. Let's slow it down to like 1 second. It feels a little smoother, but I don't know if I'm imagining that. Okay, let's Google it. I'm gonna Google it. How to animate or transition HTML dialog. What am I transitioning? Yeah, because it defaults to display none. The dialog's open state. Okay, so maybe we're transitioning opacity and scale. Modern browsers now support transitioning the display and overlay properties by using the allow discrete behavior. At starting style defines the before state, opacity 0, so the browser knows where to start the transition when the dialog opens. Transition behavior, set to allow discrete to let properties like display participate in the transition. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm just liking the look of the opacity. Yeah, from open to closed, the open state to the closed state. Oh. Okay, what if we just, I kind of like this dialog. Opacity 0. Let's slow this way down to see if we can even tell a difference. I see no difference. Okay, so I'm actually not going to go any further with this, I don't think, because I want to get this deployed. And yeah, I want to get this deployed. So hold, please. Okay. Emily says, I can't wait for day 9 and 26. What's on 9 and 26? Form validation states. I'm glad somebody's excited about form validation states. And basic routing, no framework. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that one too. That was definitely ChatGPT's idea, not mine. So I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm actually looking forward to GDPR cookie banner. That one was my idea. I've done that before, but it's been a couple of years. So I'm looking forward to that one. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to worry about the animations because I actually think that it's kind of fine. I'm not, this doesn't feel harsh to me. This feels okay. So I'm good with this. I'm also choosing not to go any further with the cancel because if I'm being honest, and I think it's kind of clear at this point that I find it a little confusing, the cancel. So I'm just going to stick with the close. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick with the close. So we should probably take that cancel button out. So we have the escape key working. We have clicking on the backdrop working. We can open, we can close. We've done most of these things. I'm good with this for today. So there's that. Let's get this committed and let's go ahead and deploy this. So, and I'm thinking maybe we should update some of this information here. So I'm going to take out the word cancel. Return, we did this. Support multiple trigger buttons for the same dialog. close on backdrop, add a simple open close animation class. I'm going to take that out. Support multiple trigger buttons for the same dialog. Close on backdrop, click. I'll leave this here, so if somebody comes along and wants to do this, they can. Preventing page scroll, include a confirm button, and read the dialog's return value. We didn't get to return value. Okay, should we try to do return value? Return value. Well, let's see what this says. How it works, you can set it directly, dialog, return value accepted, or pass it as an argument to the close method. Right here. Dialog close button dot value. Update return value log. And we would want it specifically here, right? So wouldn't this be confirm modal value? That's the button, right? Oh, you have to get the okay, and then the event listener close. Not the same as closing the modal. It's an event listener. Got it. Function, update return value, log, return value, dialog, return value. It would actually be modal, return value. Oh, no. No, you're running return value there. No, This is the return value. Log return value, dialog return value. So this is the property right here that happens on the dialog, which we're calling modal. And then it would be modal add event listener close update the return value. Close update return value. So where does this get logged? Is this like a console log? I'm not sure. So does that get logged? I'm just confused about where it gets logged. Is it like a console log? That's what we're here to figure out. Okay, log is not defined. Let's just call it a console log, okay? That works. That works. And then you would do whatever you want with this, right? Do with this whatever you want. Okay, that makes sense to me. That makes sense. I think. Confirm. Confirm. Yeah, the value, because we're getting the value of the target button. Which is the thing that we clicked on, which is this right here. Okay, now I feel like I understand. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of information going back and forth here. This is not the same as adding a class to the body so I can style something. This is not the same thing. So we did use return value. We did use the close event. We're not using the cancel event. And I'm going to take the cancel event out of this because I obviously was avoiding it. So, and I'm still a little, in practice, in theory, I understand cancel. In practice, I'm not quite there yet. So, and this goes way beyond, we've done modal or dialogues here before and used modal before. This goes beyond what I've done with this before, passing this information back and forth. It makes absolute sense to me why you would capture this information, why you would do this. I can think of the practical applications, especially if you used a dialogue to, I don't know, just get information that maybe you wanted to pass back up to Google Tag Manager. I kind of get that. Or if your CRM team wanted people to be able to click on something to confirm that they're consenting to something maybe, and then you would want to pass that value back to Salesforce or whatever. So that definitely makes sense to me. And there's the obvious application of like forms or a checkout. That makes sense too. So, okay, now I'm done. Now we're going to deploy. So let's make sure, we need to make sure though, okay, and I'm going to take this out. We have to add this markup to our page. So this ends up sometimes being kind of a pain in the butt, but I do use ChatGPT to help me with that. So let's start with the markup. Right here. I think I closed ChatGPT. Let me find it here. Okay, we'll continue this conversation from yesterday. I'll ask for some formatting. Please format this HTML for Prism.js code block. Only replace the less than and LT semicolon and use NBSP and NBSP times 4 for indentation. Let's see how this looks. We're using Prism.js for our code blocks. So we'll do a section with a class of section, an H2 with a class of secondary heading. This is the HTML. And we want the pre, and then we want code with a class of language, HTML. And we'll put this in. Let's see how this looks. Yep, this looks great. So now let's do one for the JavaScript. So we need a section, the class of section, H2, secondary heading, and this is the JavaScript. And then we need a pre and a code, the class of language, JavaScript. And then we'll take this and ask it to do the same thing. Please format this JavaScript. All right, here's our JavaScript. Looks good. I kind of feel like in here we could just put like event target value. Could we just put event target value in there? You know, I'm good with this. Excuse me. So here's our trigger. This is a placeholder. Confirm. So we can click outside. We can hit the escape key. Focus naturally goes back. I'm I'm good with this. I like this. So the final thing that I want to do is I have this UI components page. So our our day 4 page looks great. Here's our Modal Dialog component.js file. This looks great. Here's our styles. That looks great. Now I just want to add, I suppose I need to actually get the markup again. I just want this. We're going to add this section to the UI page. So here's our UI components. Right here. Actually, I don't think I need to do anything here. I don't think I need to copy and replace this. I think we took out the cancel button. I think we added a value here. And that's it. Oh, and I think that we have to add a class here. Modal Dialog. Oh, we have to add our component. Hello, right here. We have to add our component. Oh, and I don't think, maybe I should have just copied and pasted this. We have to add our buttons. The correct class names for our buttons. So this was confirm button. We can hit escape. We can click the backdrop. I think overflow is canceled. Let's check and make sure that that body class gets added, and then we can deploy. And it does. All right. It's exciting. And it says day 4, right? Yep, day 4. Modal Dialog. Excellent. All right. Let's open up FileZilla. Let's also make sure that we are committing our work to GitHub. Let's do a commit first. Let's close these. All right, git add, git commit, modal dialog JavaScript. All right, we'll let that percolate up to our GitHub repository. And we deployed this project. If you weren't here for that, it was on last week on, well, it was this week, today's Saturday. So it was Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. Yeah, I think it was Tuesday this week. So it's day 0 if you go to the live tab on my channel. If you're interested in deployment, I do just a good old-fashioned LAMP stack. We update our DNS settings. We get everything pushed up to a server on DigitalOcean, and we deploy every single project. So, all right. So what did we work on today? So components. This is day 4, the UI components, and style.css. These are the 4 things that we worked on today. So we'll drag and drop. And we'll go check and see how things look. I like to close my local environment when I'm checking production just because, I don't know, I just do. So 30 days of vanilla JavaScript, Modal Dialog. Here's our markup. And here's our trigger. Hit the escape key, no scroll, overflow hidden, and we have that nice focus. Let's make sure it's on our components page. Oh, we kind of lost focus there. What's happening? So if I click, hang on, getting confused. Okay, so my hands are right here. I feel like I bumped something, so I'm just going to click. Do you see how we lost focus? Why did that happen? Okay, so now we have focus. That's losing focus. Is that happening on the other page? Is that happening here? Yes. But if I hit escape, it's okay. Now it's okay. So if this doesn't have focus, and I'm just coming over and clicking, that button does not have focus. Okay, so that's if I tab. That's if I tab. So what if I click to open, and then what if I hit return? What has focus? Maybe it has focus. You know what it might be nice is to put some more content in here, like maybe, but if the button is getting focus, then it would come first. What if, just curious. So here's the button, here's the dialog. Here's this. So this is, well, first of all, Chrome is doing this now. Overridden by animation styles, open the animations panel. That's annoying. I don't want to see that. I want to see what's actually happening. And also, where the F is the animations panel? Because I can't find it, even though it's linked here. Okay, but these are all grayed out, and button focus is the active thing here. So I think it is technically focused. I just don't see a blue button, because if I tab, oh gosh. So if I open it and then I tab again, I tab out. So if it's focused, it's hollow. I just don't see the outline. Okay, so I think it is focused. I think that button does have focus. So I guess, and everything else is working. Let's just tab through here. So we can skip to the content. And then we go right to our list. We can escape. We can click the backdrop. Okay. Well, I'm going to call it good. I'm going to say I'm comfortable with what we did here. I chose not to go too deeply into cancel, even though I read everything related to cancel versus close. And we did go ahead and write the event listener for close to get the return value. I understand in theory why we do these things. I would need a more specific task of like, what is it that we're even showing people? I just need more requirements in a clearer task. So I guess this is where I'm going to end it on this one. But this was a good one. This was also a good one. So tomorrow we're doing the tabs component, which to me, tabs are very similar to accordions in that you are sort of rotating through content. But what makes this different than accordions is that your tab list and your tab panel live in two different divs. At least with accordions, you have a parent container, right? So you can click on the heading, which is actually a button for the parent container, add a class to the parent container, and then do all the work that way. This is a little different because we are going to have to use these attributes. So you can see here that we've got an ID of tab 1, and we're going to have to match that up with an ID of tab panel 1. So we're going to have to match the panel up with the button in order to add the active class. So we would have an active class on the button, and we would have an active class on the tab item itself. So yeah. So, and we would probably honestly use the ARIA controls, because tab panel 1, so we would do button ARIA controls tab panel 1 equals div ID tab panel 1. And if these two things matched, we would add the active class. And then the styling does all the work for hiding and showing. So one of the things that I did the styling on ahead of time. And yeah, let's go ahead and, no, I'm not going to worry about it now. We have to make sure everything is linked tomorrow. Honestly, I should just do that myself tonight. So, okay. Hello, welcome. Thank you for coming to hang out. This was a good one. I liked this one. And Malik says, great work as usual. Let's keep this train moving for April. I totally agree. I'm not going anywhere. I'm having a blast. Everybody, do me a favor. Like the video if you haven't already. Helps the algorithm, helps me get this type of content pushed out to people who might be interested in things like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. and helps the channel grow. And yeah, for everybody who likes, subscribes, hangs out in the chat, I definitely appreciate you. And you know, if you didn't already know, this is the 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. Today was day 4. Come back tomorrow for day 5. We're going to work on the tabs component. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.